to live with grief. We'll quickly go through some of the previous lines and then continue. To live with grief, to confront death on her road, the mortal's lot became the immortal's share. The mortal's lot became the immortal's share. Savitri, who has taken the mortal birth, it is her lot which has become a part of the immortal Savitri who is there within her. Immortal share means there is the immortal Savitri within her. It is that immortal Savitri who is taking upon the lot of mortal Savitri. Thus trapped in the gin of earthly destinies, awaiting her ordeals hour abode, outcast from her inborn felicity, accepting life's obscure terrestrial rule, hiding herself even from those she loved, the Godhead created by a human fate. This we have already seen last time, the gin of earthly destinies, the trap, the snare in which she was caught at the moment, earthly happenings, awaiting her ordeals hour abode. Now, the verb here is abode. Who is awaiting? That is not specified here. In this particular line, awaiting her ordeals abode, awaiting somebody, outcast somebody, accepting somebody, life obscure, hiding somebody, all these are parallel sentences, constructions. You see. For them, the subject or the verb abode here is intransitive. The subject of the verb abode is the Godhead. Awaiting her audience abode, the Godhead abode. The Godhead who is outcast from her inborn felicity. The Godhead who has accepted life's obscure terrestrial robe. The Godhead who is hiding herself even from those she loved. It is that Godhead who abode, awaiting. In other words, for the verb abode, the subject is Godhead here. And of course, abode here is an intransitive verb in the sense that it does not need an object. The Godhead abode. Now, as I told you last time, it is interesting that you have got here await. She is awaiting, as if something is going to happen. She is expecting something to happen. You see. Ordeals hour. Ordeal, a very severe kind of a test. What we would call in the Sanskrit literature, Agni Pariksha, the fire test. Is the fire test. So she is as if awaiting the Agni Pariksha, the fire test. Fire test means, see, in the Ramayana, there is a little story when Rama won the victory over Ravana. He was claiming back his wife. But then she was living in the house of an Asura, and she had to be kind of purified, that she remained absolutely pure even in that state of captivity. And she was then given the fire test, Agni Pariksha. She entered in the fire and the fire would not burn her, establishing her purity and her character and that kind of a thing, you see. So she had to undergo that kind of a fire test, Agni Pariksha, you see. So Savitri is also here awaiting some sort of a fire test in her life at a moment, that she has to pass through that and proceed further. Pass through that because she is carrying the load of mortality in her. So she has to undergo that test completely, whether she will be able to fulfill it at all or not. If she fails in this ordeal, then it is impossible for her to really deal with death or with anybody else, you see. So that ordeal is important for her here. Outcast from her inborn felicity. Well, she is a native of the land of Ananda, but she has come here in the mortal world full of suffering, full of misery, full of distress, full of despair, and she is therefore kind of an outcast from that, accepting life's obscure terrestrial robe. So, our robe is really obscure, dark, ugly, not pleasant at all, you see. Hiding herself even from those she loved. That I told you last time. Nobody in the hermitage knew under what conditions Savitri was psychologically. The Godhead greater by a human fate. Now she is a greater by human fate. She is the goddess already. But because she has accepted the lot of mortality, she has become yet greater. See, if a God remains in his heaven, he might be able to help man. He does help also man and all that kind of a thing. But he is fixed there. It is not progressive. Why accepting the mortal's condition by stepping into the world of mortality? Then there is a possibility of your rising up more. So that is the beauty of this mortal life, that you can really evolve to a greater height by accepting the conditions of mortality. Therefore, greater by the fall, as we have seen earlier also in one case, greater by the fall. The Godhead greater by human fate. Now, a dark foreknowledge separated her from all of whom she was star and stay, too great to impart the peril and the pain. In her torn depths, she kept the grief to come. She is in the book of Yoga, the opening canto, Savitri is swaying back and forth in the conjugal love with her husband, and the remembrance of what Narada has told. She is going back and forth constant. He says, she shone between grief and happiness. Savitri shone, cut as if you see. Here she is torn between grief to come, you see. Now here, from whom, all of whom she was star and stay. Star and stay. She was a star and stay. Star, the leading light, the guiding star. The star guides you in the night, how to proceed. In the night sky, by watching the star, you can follow the path you want to trace, you see. And stay, she is the support, she is the help, she is giving every kind of a support to everybody, you see. So she is the star and stay for everybody, from whom she was the star and stay. Too great to impart the peril and the pain. She would not tell anything to anybody at all what she was suffering from, you see. Now here, dark foreknowledge. It is a dark knowledge that her husband is going to die 1 year after the marriage. That is a foreknowledge. Obviously, it is dark. Obviously, we have later on in the story Narada telling about what is going to happen in the life of Savitri. Savitri had chosen Satyavan for her husband. Narada comes all the way from his heaven to announce that this man is going to die 1 year after the marriage. That is the knowledge he had given to Savitri. But in the book of fate, Narada clearly says, this bright hour returning. He says, bright hour returning. Satyavan will die 1 year after marriage. It's bright hour. Here it is dark for knowledge. Let us see what is that. 6.145. In one brief year, when this bright hour flies back. See, Narada is making an announcement and telling that this is a bright hour. But here what we have got is a dark foreknowledge. Now, earlier than that, also, when Narad comes, Savitri has returned back after discovering her future partner in life, and he is going to tell something. At that time, the Queen Mother insists upon Narad to tell what is the nature of their life together, and she says 106.91. But now the Queen, alarmed, lifted her voice. He was hesitating, Narad, to tell what is stored for them in future. He was hesitating. And therefore she said, but now the Queen, alarmed, lifted her voice. Oh, seer, thy bright arrival, bright hour has been timed to this high moment of a happy life. So here, dark foreknowledge. I don't know whether we can really link up with the bright prophecy made by Narad. Although in the storyline, it looks as if Savitri knows through Narad about what is going to happen in future. Here, that background is not there in the beginning of the poem here now. But he says dark foreknowledge. So, how do you understand this bright and this dark? You see,
It's both.
both.
Yeah.
How?
She cannot be very happy because he is going to die.
No.
But at the same time, she knows that it will be a bright hour for what is coming after the die.
No, but the poet is very definite that it is a bright hour when Narad is making that announcement. There is something good which is going to come out. But here, it is not that is what is indicated by dark foreknowledge. Dark foreknowledge does not give you that kind of hint that this dark foreknowledge is holding in store something very auspicious, something very beautiful, something very acceptable. This dark foreknowledge is something negative here, absolutely.
So what is it? He's making a game.
No, I was trying to say that we need not rush to connect this thing after reading the whole poem with Narad's statement. His arrival is a bright arrival, something very beautiful, something very auspicious, something lovely is foreseen in that bright arrival, bright hour. He is making this bright hour returning. Satyavan will die. Bright hour is here. It is a dark foreknowledge. See, I think this is something which is being described in the transcendent. It is not exactly in the storyline. The divine Savitri, who is going to take the mortal birth, what is her future? That is what is going to be described there. I mean, the story, so to say, is yet to unfold on the earthly scene. But what is being transcribed there, what is being already conveyed there, well, that is how Savitri will do these things on earth. Is already kind of inscribed there in the transcendent. And therefore, in the transcendent, the whole story is at this moment, it is a dark foreknowledge. Savitri has to see ignorance. Savitri is an imperishable. Savitri is an immortal. All those qualities are there in Savitri, which are not present in the story in the narration of Savitri, of Narad, you see. So this dark foreknowledge is something which is kind of foreseen, conveyed by the yogi poet himself, that the whole story is being narrated in the transcendent in this manner, you see. And therefore, he is saying dark foreknowledge. A dark foreknowledge, in other words, there is a kind of intermingling, a purposeful interweaving of what is happening on earth and what is being, what shall I say, written out in the transcendent already, you see. A dark foreknowledge separated her from all of whom she was a star and stay, too great to impart the peril and the pain. In her torn depths, she kept the grief to come. Obviously, she is holding it back. Now, all this is now that Savitri, as she will act in mortal world, is being foreseen there. is being foreseen there, you see. It is not actually happening here, but it is already foreseen there, you see. Her torn depths, here he says her depths are torn. Obviously, between this and that constantly you see. Whereas in the book of Yoga, when we are reading the joy of union between Satyavan and Savitri, we are told that she sawn, cut with a saw, hacksaw, so to say, her heart sawn between grief and joy constantly. Do this or do that. She is not able to do it. Here it is torn. Torn, she kept the grief to come. As one who, watching over men, yet blind, takes up the load of an unwitting race, harboring a foe whom with her heart she must feed, unknown her act, unknown the doom she faced, unhelmed she must foresee and dread and dare. Now again, harboring. See, I mean, Savitri is not harboring here. Savitri is told here. It's already there in her, you see. But here the divine Savitri in the transcendent is holding that now, all that in her soul constantly. As one who watching over men left blind. Who is watching? That Savitri, you see. Takes up the load of an unwitting race. Yeah, well, this is what human race is, unwitting race. Unknown her act, unknown the doom she faced. Unhelmed, she must foresee and dread and dare. Well, must foresee. You see, this is one thing. So this is all kind of being described up there. She has foresee all these things, you see. It is not that it is being acted now here, you see. Unhelmed, she must foresee and dread and dare. This is a very beautiful line. Harboring a foe who with her heart she must feed. Harboring is a dactyl, long, short. A foe I am, whom with, I will put it as talking, whom with, whom as a stress syllable, whom with, trochee, her heart I am, she must feed, again and I am. Very beautiful line. Harboring a foe whom with her heart she must feed. That dactyl gives a very beautiful effect, you see, starting long, short, unknown her act, unknown the doom she faced. Perfect iambic line, you see, matching unknown her act, unknown the doom she faced. Unhelmed she must foresee and dread and dare. Now the long foreknown and fatal morn was here, bringing a noon the same like every noon. Bringing a noon the same like every noon. The long foreknown and fatal morn was here. The long foreknown, see, I can understand foreknown if you go by the storyline. Foreknown because Narad has told already. He has told exactly this time, this day, this hour, everything completely. What he says. Muhurtam kshanam vedam divasam. That is the line. Muhurtam, the moment, kshanam, devedam divasam. Narad has told already. Muhurtam kshanam. So that is the foreknown. Completely known. This is what we have also in Savitri here, you see. The hour, the day, the year is come. This day returning, Satyavan must die. 12 swift-winged months. 12 means year is also given. This hour, this bright hour, this day is completely specified here. So that does not really go well, so to say, long. Because after all, Narad has told the prophecy, and more or less almost after 1 year he is going to die. So it's not long. It's not long foreknown, you see. It's not long foreknown at all. So we we need not rush to link this line with what Narad has told, with the storyline what we have got here. In other words, this is something which is already decided in the history of evolution, in the transcendent. Yes, a day will come. Yes, this will happen. Yes, this is bound to happen. Savitri has to meet death. This is bound to happen. So this is already kind of inscribed there in the life story of Savitri, in the life story of Savitri, in the transcendent. So I would say the long foreknown is the inscription in that story. With a sky for a page, the story was written, with the sky for a page. What is the story? The story of Savitri. And in the story of Savitri, we have got this long foreknown and fatal. So it's already fixed there. In the divine diary or whatever to call it, is already fixed there. Morn was here, bringing in noon the same like every noon. Well, now you have to interview this constantly between what is there and what is happening here, so to say. Bringing in noon the same like every noon. This is an important line in the sense that bringing a noon the same like every noon. See, that is the scanning of it. Bringing, that is a trochee. Starts with a trochee, and then you have got a noon, the same like every noon. I am. You see, that's the line. Now, bringing gives a kind of a thrust now, the trochee, the whole line. Bringing a noon, the same like every noon. This is, of course, same, but it is not something dramatic is going to happen here. Something even tragic is going to happen here. It's not the same routine kind of a noon, you see. Now, this noon is important for several reasons. Rather, for one single reason. Noon is important. And I think we can see some of the earliest reference to noon is in this line, 2.20. But then at various stages, we have got this occurrence of noon in the whole poem, you see. We have already seen last time, 113.3, Narad is going back to his heaven. A brilliant arrow pointing straight to heaven, the luminous body of the eternal seer, assailed the purple glory of the noon. That's the time when Narad is going back to his home in the noon. He has delivered the word of fate, and now he is returning. Now it is at this noon, he says, this hour returning, Satyavan must die. So when did it happen? Because he is leaving exactly at noon. It is just before that, this must have happened, you see. Noon. This hour returning, Satyavan must die, you see. Noon. Fixed time. Vedam, Shanam, Divasam, Samvatsaram, everything is fixed. And then we have also, you see, as I told you earlier, Narad comes one day early morning, maybe around 8 o'clock or so. 8 o'clock or so. Then the royal host entertain him for a while. He sings the song of Vishnu for 1 hour. Then comes Savitri after finding Satyavan to the palace. And then the whole dialogue begins. So from 9 o'clock to roughly 12 o'clock, the entire dialogue goes on, you see, those 3 hours. And Narad goes back at noon hour exactly, you see. So now that is the background behind this one. Then again you have the marriage of Satyavan and Savitri also occurs at noon. They pledge to be together at noon hour. You see, 105.8. Under the glowing cupola of the sun. See, at noon, they pledge to be together, you see, at noon. And then Savitri kind of sees the hermitage from a distance and goes back to her palace. The line here, once more she mounted on the carven car, and under the azure of a fiery noon, less bright than the splendor of her thoughts and dreams. Her thoughts and dreams her love intensity is much brighter than the noon itself, or the summer, or the sky, you see. So she is again going back at the noon time, you see. Then we have got another occurrence which is important, 133.37. This is the scene of death of Satyavan. See, Satyavan is breathing hard. He is telling Savitri, lean down my soul, O Savitri, and kiss me while I die. That is what he is telling to her, you see. And then she suddenly sees something behind her. She sees the figure of death of Yama. Something had come there, conscious, vast, and dire. I am reading 36. Something had come there, conscious, vast, and dire. Near, she felt a silent shade immense, chilling the noon with darkness for its back. Even the noon, the intensity of noon has become cold because of his presence, chilling the noon with darkness for its back. So all these occurrences, the long forenoon and fatal morn was here, bringing a noon. So you have got the marriage of Savitri is at noon, the prophecy of death is at noon, the death itself occurs at noon. So this is a kind of a coherence in the entire thematic presentation in Savitri, you see. He has not mixed up timings like that, you see. Now, this noon is important, as I told you earlier. Why all these things happening at noon? See, well, it is decided, it is decreed, etc., that Satyavan must die. Okay, but then there has to be some sort of physical cause for the death. It cannot just die like that. There has to be some kind of a what shall I say? Pretext has to be there for death to occur. You see, some physical cause has to be there for the death to occur. It is certainly not, from the description, due to snake bite that Satyavan is going to die. You see, as it happens in the other story, Priyambuddha scene, it is due to snake bite she dies. You see, it is not here due to snake bite that this man is going to die. It is also not he is cutting the wood with an axe. It is not by accidentally hitting the axe on himself and he is dying. He is not hitting himself with the axe and dying. So it is not that thing. So what could be the physical cause of death? The physical cause of death is connected with this noon. It is the summer time. The noon is hot. This man, this young boy, person, whatever you call it, is in intense love with his spouse. They wanted to be together. He wanted to finish off his work quickly and spend more time for her, give more time to her in the forest so that they can be together, you see. So she is working very hard. She is working very hard in the hot sun. In the hot sun. So my presumption is that it is a kind of a sunstroke by which he is dying. Sunstroke. Sunstroke.
And two stroke. Sunstroke.
Hot noon is kept for that purpose. The cause of the death is in the heat of the noon. And why all these things happening? There has to be some physical cause for the death. And that long forenoon, so it is already fixed that this boy is going to die due to sunstroke. You see, in the noon hour. Sava? Well, possibly, you don't know. Otherwise you have to give some other explanation. What is the cause of the death?
I think there is a letter from Savitri to Mahakiran about this noon. Why mentioned was it? Actually, if I remember well, Savitri said this is because it is a full light moment. Full light. Something like that. Maybe I can try to find it out.
No, full light I can understand. No, that is symbolically correct.
Symbolically, this is
Symbolically is correct. But here now you have to give a physical cause for you have to give a physical cause for the whole thing.
He was ill, maybe.
He cannot just die like that.
He was ill.
No.
he was not sick.
He says, I am breathing very fast, I am perspiring, I am all those symptoms which are described here are of the sunstroke.
Can sunstroke be deadly?
Sunstroke can be, yeah.
Can be deadly?
Huh?
Can be deadly in the
Yeah,
forest?
no, but he is working hard in the forest, doing all that thing. So those descriptions are not there, but it is understood that the way he is perspiring and breathing hard and that kind of a thing, he says, "Let me lie in your lap and see if I can recover my breath."
But in the legend story, he died by snake bite.
No, no snake bite. No. The original story
It
says
was the physical.
by his hard work, he was struggling, and he says some kind of arrows are piercing through my head. Through my head. That is a sunstroke. Arrows are piercing. You see?
He said like this.
Yes. Arrows are
This
piercing.
is in the legend.
So that noon is, I think, functionally important. Noon has a functional role to play here, you see. And here, the long forenoon. So now that long is already decided up there that this is going to happen at noon, etc., etc. The cause is fixed. Everything is fixed up there without any ambiguity. The long forenoon and fatal morn was here, bringing noon the same like every noon. For nature walks upon her mighty way, unheeding when she breaks the soul in line. Leaving her slain behind, she travels on. Man only must, and God's all-seeing eyes. Man only must, and God's all-seeing eyes. Nature walks upon her mighty way. Well, nature has to do her own job, unconcerned about the consequences, unconcerned about your grief and sorrow and joy and happiness. Nature is not concerned about that. She has to do her own work, irrespective of how you take it, how it happens. Unheeding, when she breaks a soul in life, she doesn't bother about that thing. It is her way of doing it. Leaving her slain behind, she travels on. She is least concerned about all this. It is a part of the whole game, and she keeps on doing her own work. So nature walks upon her mighty way. Well, she has to do that. If she is going to be emotional about all these little things, she will not be able to do anything at all. If you are emotional, walking with the road, and see that you are crushing ants, you will never be able to walk. You will never be able to walk, you see. You are crushing insects, you are crushing this, you are crushing that. You will never be able to walk at all on the road, you see. Emotional will not have. So nature is that way, firm in her own ways of it. She has something to achieve, and irrespective of the consequences or the reactions or whatever you want to call it, she will do her work. In fact, on a much larger scale, when Kali is in her action, she doesn't care about weeping and crying and brutalities and all that thing. She just goes and kills, you see. She lets herself go around only. The Kali's wrath, she doesn't bother about that thing at all. Now, nature walks upon the mighty ways. Now, this is something, I will say, more characteristic of a Greek tragedy. Man only mask and God's all-seeing eyes. In other words, in the Indian tradition, it will be slightly different, in the sense that you are concerned about fate, you are concerned about what is called prarabdha, daiva, karma, niyati, purushartha. All these things are concerned about prarabdha. Well, this is my fate, therefore I do. This is what is going to happen. And you are doing that thing because you know that through that something good is going to happen to you. Therefore, you accept that kind of a thing in the Indian philosophical thought, in the Indian psycho-spiritual thought. The karma is accepted because that is going to produce something good for you later on, you see. Therefore, here there is no question of karma at all. Nature is doing her own work without any concern of any kind. Let me see what I got here. This is quite in contrast to Indian thought, this sentence. The Indian thought says there is the problem of fate, of daiva, prarabdha, karma, niyati, purushkar. The problem of suffering is there, the problem of misery is there, yet there is a supervising eye also. While the fate is there, all those things there is somebody overlooking on all these things, supervising eye also. An eye which will look into everything, all the details, take care of everything. We are sufferers, but there is also the thoughtful benevolence. We are sufferers, but there is also a thoughtful benevolence. This is how the Indian tradition, Indian thought, Indian psychology takes this view. In contrast to that, in Greek thinking, it is a part of nature, a part of harsh, relentless mechanism. She has to do her work. She can't but do that work. Relentless mechanism of necessity. It is by necessity she has to govern all these things. In other words, the death of Satyavan is a necessity according to Greek thought. It is a necessity. But there is no question of supervising that necessity here. Out of that necessity, Ananki, she will work out something. But it is by necessity things are going to happen here.
Is it exception?
Huh?
Exception?
Ananki. Necessity, huh?
Yeah, I'm all seeing eyes.
Oh yeah, that's right. That is the supervising deity. All walks mighty way, unheeding when she breaks the soul. God's all-seeing eyes and Mass God's all-seeing eyes, the Supreme. Yeah. Nature is doing the work and God is watching everything, all the things are happening. Well, in other words, it is a necessity for nature to carry on these things. But at the same time, there is an all-seeing eye from above which is watching what nature is going to do. Means he will do corrective actions if it is required at any problem. Otherwise, what is the use of the all-seeing eye? Man only Mars and God's all-seeing eye. So nature will do her work. Man will see, well, this man is going to die. God is also saying, maybe it's with a greater purpose and all that kind of a thing, but nature has to do her work like that, you see. That is the Greek thought, you see. So in Savitri, you have like that the philosophical reflections. You see, this is a very typical kind of a thing in Greek drama. In Greek drama, this happens like that. By machination of God, things happen there. By necessity, in Greek drama, even gods are governed by Ananki. Even gods are governed by Ananki, by necessity. It is that she will achieve something. The death of Satyavan is a necessity. It is the melancholic of the individual in it, in the death of Satyavan. In the death of Satyavan, melancholic of the individual of Savitri here, of gets universalized. This is what has happened. It has become universal. This is a universal statement. It is not pertaining specifically to Savitri. For nature walks upon a mighty way, unheeding when she breaks the soul alive, leaving the slain behind, she travels on, man only Mars and God's all-seeing eye. It is not specifically connected with Savitri. It is the melancholic aspect of Savitri which has now become universal. Even in this moment of our soul's despair, in the grim rendezvous with death and fear, no cry broke from her lips, no call for aid. She told the secret of her woe to none. Calm was her face, and courage kept her new. Well, this is what we have seen last time. Now, even in this moment of her soul's despair, in this grim rendezvous with death and fear, no cry broke from her lips, no cry broke from her lips, no call for aid. Savitri is already yogic. In spite of such a situation of grief and sorrow and suffering, personal calamity, she remains calm. No cry broke from her lips. This is absolutely yogic. Human Savitri has already that character, that nature. She has taken the human birth, but that yogic character is still there. No cry broke from her lips, no call for aid. She knows that even she is going to ask for aid, that aid may not be of any avail to her, will not get aid to her. She told the secret of her woe to none. Calm was her face, and courage kept her mute. Now, this is absolutely yogic in the case of Savitri. Well, I told you, she told the secret of her woe to none. Obviously, if she were to utter a single word about it, the whole story would have been spoiled. Gone. This is the condition of human Savitri, actually. But human Savitri already is so yogic in her nature, in her character, in her build-up. That element does not go away. Yet only her outward self suffered and strove. Even her humanity was half divine. Her spirit opened to the spirit in all. Her nature felt all nature as its own. Now this is absolutely yogic. You see, not only she remains calm, but her spirit open to the spirit in all. It is a universal experience, the Vedantic experience of oneness of self everywhere. The universal consciousness is already her spirit open to the spirit in all. Her nature felt all nature as its own. So it is not only the self, but also her nature. They have identified as self. This is super yogic. Already in the case of Savitri, you have that condition. You see. Now, of course, this is the character of the divine Savitri who will come in this manner. Even her humanity was half divine. Why half? Because on the one hand she has got this, on the other hand she is also suffering sorrow. All those things are there, you see. Because she has taken the mortal birth. Unless she identifies herself totally with the lot of the mortal, she cannot do her work. In that total identification with mortality, she still retains her divinity. She still retains her divinity, half divine. That's 115 point. I think we'll read some of those lines. 115.1 from that onward. We'll read this passage, which is very pertinent to what we are going to see. At first, to her beneath the sapphire heaven, the sylvan solitude was a gorgeous dream, and aunt her of the summer splendor and fire. You see, summer splendor and fire. You see, and aunt her of the summer splendor and fire. A sky-topped, flower-hung palace at a god, and all is seen a smile on rapturous limbs, and all his voices bars of happiness. Well, that is the joy of union, all the lovers. That is what it means. Savitri is now going to stay with Satyavan in the hermitage, and therefore to be together. Everything is heavenly, beautiful, lovely, sweet, without sorrow. Beneath the sapphire heaven, the sylvan solitude was a joyous dream. There was a chanting in the casual wind, even the wind would carry the music of sweetness. There was a glory in the least sunbeam. Night was the chrysoprase on velvet cloth, and nestling darkness or a moonlit day with the purple pageant at a hymn, a wave of laughter, of light from morn to eve. Well, this is the joy of union of the lovers, see, we got here. His absence, Satyavan's absence, when he goes for work, was a dream of memory. You should remember him. His presence was the empire of a god. Everything is there in his presence. What else he wants to see? Effusing the joys of earth and heaven, a tremulous blaze of nuptial rapture palm, a rushing of two spirits to be one, a burning of two bodies in one flame. Open were the gates of unforgettable bliss. Two lives were locked within an earthly heaven, and fate and grief fled from that fiery hour. Obviously, when they are together, the same. But soon now failed the summer's ardent breath, and throngs of blue-black clouds crept through the sky, and rain fled sobbing with the dripping leaves, and storm became the forest's titan voice. The summer is over, the summer of happiness and joy. Now the monsoon is coming, reaching. Then listening to the thunderous fatal cry, and the fugitive pattering footsteps of the shower, and the long unsatisfied panting of the wind, and sorrow muttering the sound vexed night, the grief of all the world came near to her. Night darkness seemed her future's ominous pain. The shadow of her lover's doom rose, and fear laid hands upon her mortal heart. Yes, he's going to die. That fear is already there. The moment's swift and ruthless race alarmed her thoughts, her mind remembered Nara's state. She is constantly haunted by that, what Nara had told. He has fixed everything, time, everything, moment, second. Nara's day. A trembling, moved accountant of her riches. She is counting the now, 1 month is remaining, now one fortnight is remaining, now 1 week is remaining. A trembling, moved accountant of her riches. She reckoned the insufficient days between what is remaining here and when that event is going to pay. A dire expectancy knocked at her brain. Dire expectancy. Yes, this is going to happen tomorrow. She. Dreadful to her were the footsteps of the hour. Grief came, a passionate stranger to her gate. Passionate stranger. Savitri never knew grief, but now he has come here. Vanished when in his arms, out of her sleep, it rose at morn to look into her face. Vainly she fled into abysms of blame from her pursuing foresight of the end. The more she plunged into love, that anguish grew. Her deepest grief from sweetest gulf arose. What a dramatic line. Her deepest grief, well, that is the death of Satyavan. From sweetest gulf, when they are in company, at that time, suddenly she remembers, yes, this man is going to die. Remembrance was a poignant pang. She felt each day a golden leaf torn cruelly out from her too slender book of love and joy. Slender book, hardly 365 days. The pages are 365 pages only in the book. Thus swaying in strong gust of happiness and swimming in forebodings, somber waves, and feeding sorrow and terror with her heart, feeding sorrow and terror with her heart, constantly singing. For now they sat among their bosoms together, on or in her inner chamber, spaced apart. Her eyes stared blind into the future night. Out of her separation, she looked and saw. Now Savitri is separating herself, her inner self, moving amid the unconscious faces loud, in mind a stranger, through a heart so near. The ignorant, the smiling world go happily by. People don't know what is going to happen to her. Happily by upon his way towards an unknown doom, and unwounded at the careless lives of men. Careless lives of men. Nature will go on her own work. As if in different worlds they walk, though close, they confident of the returning sun, they wrapped in little hourly hopes. They means people all around, apart from Savitri. She, in a dreadful knowledge, was alone. Well, this is what we have seen earlier. She alone knew what was going to happen to her. The rich and happy secrecy that once enslaved her as if in a silver bubble, apart in a bright nest of thoughts and dreams, made room for tragic hours of solitude and lonely grief that none could share or know. A body seeing the end too soon to joy and the fragile happiness of its mortal love. Her quiet face is still and sweet and calm. Her graceful daily acts were now a mask. In vain she looked upon the depths to find a ground of stillness and the spirit supreme. Still, veiled from her was the silent being then. She is torturing what that being will, she has no knowledge of it. Who sees life's drama pass with unmoved eyes, suffers the sorrow of the mind and heart, and bears in human breast the word and will. A glimpse, a flash came, the presence was hid. Sometimes she would get some idea, some presence should come. She is not having any hint at all from anywhere. So that being was silent, that being was silent. But sometimes she gets a hint, a glimpse of it. Only her violent heart and passionate will were pushed in front to meet the immutable doom. So the immutable doom is there, but who is going to face that? Only her heart and her will, her passionate will and her heart were pushed. Means she has not really found the soul with the divine strength in it yet. Defenseless, nude, bound to human law, they had no means to act, no way to save. Her heart, her passionate will, these she controlled. Nothing was shown outside. She was still to them, the child they knew and loved. So Savitri is holding them back and moving and doing all the daily work routinely. They mean people in the house, you see. These she controlled. Nothing was shown outside. She was still to them, the child they knew and loved. The sorrowing woman they saw not within. No change was in her beautiful motion seen. A worshipped empress, all once white to serve. She made herself the diligent serve of all, nor spared the labor of broom and jar and well, or close gentle tending, or to heat the fire of altar and kitchen. No slight task allowed to other that her woman's strength might. So she is doing all the small little work in the house routinely, without showing any emotion, anything at all. In all her acts, a strange divinity shone. You see, this is human Savitri, yet there is that divinity, half divine, that is already there. She is already yogic in her action also here, because that calm is there. Into a simplest moment, she could bring a oneness with earth. You see, that is the yogic thing, a oneness with earth's glowing robe of light, a lifting up of common acts by love. That oneness and love, that is there. That is the divinity of Savitri, and that does not remain held back at all. All love was hers, and its one heavenly count, bound all to all with her as golden tie. That is what we have seen earlier, oneness. But man, her grief to the surface passed too close. These things one graces adjuncts of her joy, seemed meaningless to her, a gleaming shell, or were a round mechanical world. Her body's actions shared not her will. This is important. Her body's action shared not. It is her body's action which is important. Always behind strange divided life of love and sorrow. Her spirit, like a sea of living fire, possessed her lover, and to his body clung. One locked embrace to guard his threatened mate, as if in that embrace she is going to save Satyavan. All night she wove through slow, silent hours, brooding on the treasure of his bosom that way hung or sleep-bound beauty so, or laid her burning cheek upon his feet. Waking at morn, her lips endlessly clung to his, unwilling ever to separate again, or lose that honeyed drain of lingering joy, unwilling to lose his body from her breast. The warm, inadequate sign that love must use. Well, these are the physical signs which are inadequate. Intolerant to the poverty of time, her passion catching at the fugitive hour, will the expense of centuries one day of prodigal love and the surf of ecstasy. Again, you got the word here, prodigal. See what we have seen earlier also. Prodigal. Or else she strove even in mortal time to build a little room for timelessness by the deep union of two human lives, her soul secluded, shut into his soul. After all was given, she demanded still, even by his strong embrace unsatisfied, she longed to cry, "Oh, tender Satyavan, oh, lover of my soul, give more of love, while yet thou can, because you are living. When you are dead, it will not be there." And then she goes, too well she loved to speak a faithful word. She is talking to Satyavan, but she is not telling about that thing. Too well she loved to speak a faithful word and lay her burden on his happy head. She pressed the outsurging grief back into her breast. This is absolutely yogic. What a kind of capacity that she can hold back everything in her. You see, she is loving her intensely and loving him intensely, and yet holding back all grief into herself. Tremendous kind of a capacity. Super yogic. She pressed the outsurging grief back into her breast to dwell within silent and held alone. All was too little for her bottomlessness. He is giving what best he could, but that was too little for her. In his presence, she forgot a while. Grief filled his absence with his aching throb. Often it seemed to her the age's pain had pressed their quintessence into a single woe. The pain of all the ages, of all time, got quintessence in her single, concentrating in her a tortured world. Thus, in the silent chamber of her soul, cloistering her love to live secret grief, she dwelt like a dumb priest with hidden God. Dumb priest with hidden gods, unappeased by the world. In fact, unappeased by the worldless offerings, but this is what we'll see also shortly, you see. Yet ever they grew into each other more, they, Savitri and Satyavan, until it seemed no power could rend apart, since even the body's walls could not divide. Satyavan and Savitri's unity is even beyond the physical, and nobody can divide that thing. You see. Although life born, an infant to the hour, immortal it was unslayable to God. Her spirit stretched measureless in strength divine. Savitri has not started doing yoga, but already this is yogic in the case of Shiva. An anvil for the blows of fate and time, or tired of sorrow's passionate luxury, grief's self became calm. Grief's self became calm, delight, resolute. See, the very self of grief has now become calm. Savitri is not concerned. Her grief got personified, and that personified grief has become calm, silent, fallen, awaiting some issue of his fiery struggle, some deed in which it might forever see victorious acceptance. Well, this is exactly what we have got here also. Even humanity was half divine. You see what we got here now. Our spirit open to the spirit in all. What we see. Her nature felt all nature and so. Apart, living within all life she bore. Aloof, she carried in herself the world. Her tread was one with the great cosmic train. Her strength was founded on the cosmic mind. The universal mother's love was hers. Now this is already kind of foreseen up there. What is going to happen there? Means you are kind of picturizing in the transcendent how the human Savitri will be. Again the evil let life's afflicted roots. Again the evil let life's afflicted roots. Her own calamity is private sign. Of her pang she made a mystic poignant soul. Again a poignant, this is what we have seen just now. Of her pang she made it. Again the evil at life's afflicted roots. Evil at life's afflicted roots. So life is pictured as a tree. At the base of the tree, at the root of the tree, there is the evil. What is the evil? At the root of the tree. Death. It is death which is there at the root of things. Again the evil, that evil's life afflicted, that is the death. Her own calamity, therefore she has made her own calamity of that death of Satyavan a private sign of her pang she made. So that became the sword of conquest in her hand. That had become the sword of conquest. Acute, sharp, poignant, you see. Sword of conquest in her hand. A solitary mind, a worldwide heart. So that is the quality of Savitri's mind. Worldwide heart, universal heart. To the lone immortal's unshared work, she rose. Immortal's unshared work, you see, means mortal Savitri. Human Savitri is participating in the work of the immortal. What is the work of the immortal? To strike at the life's afflicted roots. That is the work. That is the work of the immortal. And that work of the immortal is now being carried out by mortal Savitri. A solitary mind, a worldwide heart, to the lone immortal's unshared work, she rose. So she is now getting up. All the sorrow, etc., is gone. At first, life grieved not in her burdened breast. Well, this is what we have got here also in the book of Yoga. At first, life grieved not in her burdened breast. On the lap of earth's original somnolence, inert, released into forgetfulness, thrown it reposed, unconscious, on mind's world, obtuse and tranquil, like the stone and star. At first, life grieved not in her burdened breast. This is what we have seen. Savitri is in the happy company of her husband. There is no question of grief there at all. See. At first, life grieved not. That is what we have seen. We have seen. At first, in fact, the canto begins with that, no? At first, her beneath the sapphire heaven. At first, beneath the sapphire heaven. The phrase is at first, grieved not in her burdened breast. Well, this could be connected with Savitri living with Satyavan in the forest. It could also be at first life grieved not. Could also mean Savitri's childhood in the palace. As a princess, happy princess living there happily everywhere, people serving her, she is a cherished child, happy child, everything. So there is no question of grief at all there at all. She at first grieved not in her burdened breast, but it cannot be that. It cannot be connected with the life of Savitri as a child. Because burden breast, there was no question of burden breast in the childhood. It happened only after the marriage, after prophecy of Narada. On the lap of earth's original semblance. Original semblance. Very difficult to read again.
Yeah, what is this?
Huh?
What is this?
Original semblance. Well, original somnolence. Sleep. Original somnolence. It is the condition of the earth in the beginning. The inconscient nature prevailing over earth. Inconscient nature,
Nature.
character. Somnolence, sleep. Unawareness, original of inconscience. That is what we have got in earth in the beginning. And therefore, at first, there was no question of grief. At first, life grieved not in the burdened breast. How is that earth's breast is burdened? But on the lap of earth's original somnolence, inert, released into forgetfulness. Well, that is what earth is in the beginning, you see. Inert, released into forgetfulness. Prone it repose, unconscious on mind's words. Means mind has not yet awoken on mind's world. Obtuse and tranquil like a stone and star. Obtuse, dull, stupid, in that sense. Obtuse in that sense. Dull, stupid, and tranquil, inert, without any movement. Like the stone. You see, the stone is lying there. So, it is lying, this calm is there, kind of a calm is there. Or that inertia is just nature, calm. And stone and star. Star also moves in its own mechanical manner, continuously. In a deep cleft of silence, twixt two realms, she lay remote from grief, unsown by care. You see, it is what I say, unsown. Earlier it was torn, now it is unsown by care. Nothing recalling but sorrow here. At first, unsown by care, because there was no question of that thing at all. Then a slow, faint remembrance, shadow-like move. So there was only inertia. The beginning of the earth was like that, somnolence. You see. I mean, life has not come into play, mind has not come into play. So that is the original somnolence of earth. In a deep cleft of silence, betwixt two realms, she lay remote from grief, unsown by care. Nothing recording but the sorrow here. Then the slow, faint remembrance, shadow-like moved, and sighing, she laid her hand upon her bosom and recognized the close and lingering ache, deep, quiet, old, but natural display, but knew not why it was there, nor whence it came. When she is getting out of her somnolence, when earth has moved towards life and mind, then this calamity sees. Then slow, faint remembrance, shadow-like moved, and sighing, she laid her head upon her bosom, hand upon her bosom. So Savitri is putting her hand upon her bosom. What is the cause of this thing? Why this sorrow? Where is it coming from? And recognize the close and lingering ache. It is there primarily from the original somnolence. A deep, quiet, old, made natural, so it has become its natural habit. But knew not why it was there. nor whence it came. The power that kindles mind was still withdrawn. So that mental awakening awareness is not there yet. The power that kindles mind was still withdrawn. Heavy, unwilling for life's servitors, the servants, they were unwilling. Like workers with no wages. So means neither mind is there nor life is there. Salan, the torch of sense, refused to burn. Even the senses are like unassisted. Brain found not its path. Only vague earth nature held the frame. Well, the important thing is mind is not yet awake. Life is not yet sensitive enough. But there is that lingering ache in her breast. In the breast of divine Savitri who is to take mortal birth. That ache is there. Well, this is the condition of the earth. And she is feeling that ache already there. When she is laying her hand on her chest, she feels the pain already there in her breast. Up there, she already feels that pain. Now, lingering ache, not due to mind, not due to life, but body's ache. Body, the physical. So, what she is really realizing here, all these calamities, the difficulties, etc., are due to the physical. She is already experiencing up there the ache in her bosom of the physical. So, if she has to tackle the problem in any way, then she has to tackle the problem of the physical. In other words, the point is fixed. Yes, she has to work here. Work where? Not in the mind, not in life, but in the physical, in the body. But knew not why it was there, why that body's ache is there, she has no knowledge. It is that she has to go discover. Because she has to find that at the life's afflicted roots, there is the evil. Life's roots are eaten, struck by the evil. It is that she has to travel. Then a slow faint remembrance. So she remembers now there. Well, the problem is the problem of the physical. And whatever she has to do connected with the physical. But now she stirred, her life shared a cosmic load. Her life she stirred a cosmic load. See? Well, she is the transcendent. Now she has to come down and share the cosmic load. At a summons her body's voiceless call. You see? Again, body's call. It is that ache of the body which is insisting her to participate in this cosmic work.